Have you ever wondered what's really being said in the quiet spaces between words? What if I told you that a woman's touch speaks a language older and more honest than any spoken tongue? A language of safety, desire, and profound connection that, if you learn to listen, can change everything. As a psychologist who has spent decades sitting across from people, listening not just to their stories but to the silent symphony of their bodies, I've come to a fundamental conclusion. We are desperately out of touch, both literally and figuratively. We've been taught to value words, logic, and reason, while the most ancient and truthful form of communication, physical touch, has been relegated to the background, becoming something we either crave in secret or fear in misunderstanding. But the body rarely lies. And a woman's touch, in particular, is a nuanced, powerful dialogue that reveals her innermost feelings. It's a language I've dedicated my life to understanding, and today, I want to share some of its secrets with you. Let's start with a story that gets to the heart of what we've lost. I remember a client, let's call her Anienne, a successful professional in her late 30s. She came to me feeling a strange, hollow distance from her aging mother. "It's not that we don't love each other," she'd say, "but something's missing." She described a childhood filled with physical affection, her mother stroking her hair, holding her hand, enveloping her in warm hugs. But as she grew into a teenager and then an adult, those casual, loving touches dwindled, replaced by an invisible barrier of awkwardness and hesitation. The love tank, as she put it, never felt quite full. One evening, while washing her own young daughter's hair, the familiar scent of shampoo and the feeling of the fine strands in her hands triggered a powerful memory. She remembered the sheer comfort of burying her face in her mother's hair, the scent of soap and herbs that lulled her to sleep as a child. It was a sensory memory, a touch-based memory that had been lying dormant for years. That night she went to her mother's house and, on an impulse, she asked, "Mom, can I wash your hair for you?" The surprise in her mother's eyes was palpable, but she agreed. As Anienne's fingers worked through her mother's now graying, slightly coarse hair, something broke open between them. The years of emotional distance melted away under the simple, familiar act of touch. "I felt her eyes get shiny," Anienne told me, her own eyes welling up. "It was like I was a little girl again, and she was my whole world." That one act of touch reopened a channel of communication that words never could. It erased the awkwardness and filled their relationship with a renewed sense of closeness and understanding. This story isn't unique. For most of us, our childhoods are built on a foundation of touch. We are held, cuddled, and cared for through physical contact, which wires our nervous systems to associate touch with safety and love. But as we age, especially between parents and children, the frequency of these affectionate gestures often diminishes, sometimes disappearing entirely by the teenage years. This creates an emotional gap, a silent drift in what was once an unbreakable bond. The science behind this is undeniable. Tiffany Field, the director of the Touch Research Institute at the University of Miami, has a simple but profound equation. Touch, checker health. Positive physical contact stimulates pressure receptors under our skin, which in turn sends signals to our brain that slow our heart rate, lower stress hormones like cortisol, and boost our immune system. It even triggers the release of oxytocin, often called the love hormone or bonding hormone. This is the chemical that gives you that warm, fuzzy feeling of connection and security. So, when Anienne washed her mother's hair, she wasn't just performing a simple act of care. She was literally administering a dose of healing chemistry to both herself and her mother, strengthening their bond on a biological level. A hug, a hand on the shoulder, a simple touch. These are not just sentimental gestures. They are powerful, scientifically backed catalysts for our physical and emotional well-being. Now, if touch is this vital in our platonic and familial relationships, imagine its power and complexity in the world of romantic attraction. This is where the language becomes even more subtle, more layered, and infinitely more fascinating. But before we can even begin to decipher the vocabulary of a woman's romantic touch, we must understand its foundational grammar. The one non-negotiable rule upon which everything else is built, the principle of safety. A woman's body is an incredibly sensitive instrument, finely tuned to detect not just overt threats but subtle shifts in energy and intention. Her nervous system is constantly, unconsciously asking one question: am I safe with this person? If the answer is no, her body will instinctively close off. You might have experienced this yourself. You go to touch a woman, perhaps a hand on her arm or back, and you feel her body go rigid. She might not pull away physically, but her energy becomes cold, unresponsive. She might offer a tight, polite smile while her body subtly angles away from you. This isn't necessarily a personal rejection. It's a physiological response. Her nervous system has registered a signal. Perhaps your energy feels too needy, your touch too presumptuous, or your words have subtly undermined her, and it has gone into a state of self-protection. In that moment, her body doesn't trust your masculine energy to be a source of security. Conversely, when a woman feels safe with you, her body language becomes an entirely different story. It's like watching a flower open in the sun. She will lean in when you speak. Her posture will be soft and open, not rigid or closed off. Her face will be expressive and engaged. She becomes smiley, flirty, maybe even a little giggly. Her energy moves towards you. This is the green light. This is her nervous system saying, I am safe here. I can relax. I can be open. Only from this place of perceived safety can genuine desire begin to blossom. Without safety, there is no attraction. Without trust, there is no touch. So, how do you cultivate this essential feeling of safety? It starts with small, non-threatening touches in what I call the safe zones. Think of a light, brief touch on her shoulder as you agree with something she said, or placing your hand on the middle of her back for just a moment to guide her through a doorway, then letting go. These gestures are short, purposeful, and expect nothing in return. You're not trying to linger or possess. You're simply acclimating her nervous system to your touch in a respectful way. You're teaching her body, on a subconscious level, that your touch is a source of comfort, not a demand. With each safe, respectful touch, you build a foundation of trust, and on that foundation, the beautiful, intricate structure of attraction can be built. Once that foundation of safety is established, we can begin to explore the dictionary of touch itself. A woman's body communicates attraction through a series of escalating, often unconscious, physical signals. Think of it not as a checklist, but as a dance. It begins with the most subtle of invitations. The first conversation, the hand and the arm. The hands and arms are the entry points for physical connection. They are generally considered public and non-intrusive territory, making them the perfect place for the first notes of the attraction symphony to be played. When a woman is interested, she might find a reason to initiate a light, fleeting touch. It could be a gentle tap on your forearm as she laughs at your joke, a gesture that says, I'm connecting with you, or she might lightly brush her hand against yours while reaching for something. These aren't accidents. They are feelers, little pings sent out to gauge your reaction. A significant escalation happens when she allows you to touch her hand. If you're walking together and your hands brush and she doesn't pull away, that's a positive sign. If she lets you take her hand, even for a moment to help her over a curb, she's signaling a level of comfort and trust. And if she allows you to hold her hand, to interlace your fingers with hers, that is a clear and powerful statement. For many women, holding hands is a deeply intimate act, a symbol of connection and partnership that can feel more significant than a casual kiss. It's a declaration that she feels safe and connected to you. Conversely, if a woman only considers you a friend, she will likely feel uncomfortable with you holding her hand, as it crosses a distinct boundary from platonic to potentially romantic. The zone of trust, the shoulder and back moving inward from the arms. The shoulders and back represent a greater level of trust. A friendly pat on the shoulder is common, but in a romantic context, the touch changes. It becomes softer, more of a squeeze or a caress. She might lean her head on your shoulder, a gesture of surrender and trust, inviting you into her personal space. The small of the back is a particularly potent area. When a man places his hand there to guide a woman, it is often perceived as a gesture of confident, protective masculinity. It's a subtle way of saying, I'm with her. If she is receptive to this touch, if she leans into it or doesn't stiffen, she is accepting that public, albeit subtle, declaration of connection. She is comfortable with the world seeing you as a unit, even if just for that moment. The red alert zones, the face, hair, and neck. Now, we enter the most intimate territories, the areas that are almost exclusively reserved for people we trust deeply. The face, hair, and neck are incredibly vulnerable. A woman will often unconsciously touch these areas on herself when she's attracted to someone. You might see her nervously playing with her hair, twisting a strand around her finger, or sweeping it back to expose her neck. This is a form of preening, an instinctual behavior to make herself more attractive, but it's also a way of drawing your attention to these sensitive, alluring areas. She might touch her own neck or trace her collarbone, subconscious gestures that signal a mix of nervousness and a desire to be noticed. For you to be granted access to these zones is a monumental sign of trust. If you gently brush a stray hair from her face and she leans into your touch rather than flinching away, she is communicating an exceptional level of comfort with you. The face is our most personal feature. Allowing someone to touch it is a profound act of vulnerability. The same applies to her ears and neck, which are highly sensitive and erogenous zones for many women. If she lets your touch linger in these areas, she is sending a very clear message that she not only feels safe, but is also open to a deeper level of intimacy. One study even found that the ears are one of the most sensitive areas women are hesitant to let men touch, unless it's someone they truly like. It's crucial to remember that this is a two-way street. A simple way to test the waters is to observe her reaction when you initiate a light, safe zone touch. If you touch her arm and she smiles, touches you back, or doesn't move away, it's a positive signal. If she subtly pulls back, tenses up, or creates distance, she's telling you she's not ready for that level of intimacy, and it is essential to respect that boundary immediately. Of course, touch never happens in a vacuum. It's one instrument in a full orchestra of nonverbal cues. To truly understand its meaning, you must see it in context, as part of a larger symphony of signals that all play in harmony. A woman's body tells a complete story, and touch is just one chapter. The symphony of signals. Reading the full story, imagine you're at a dimly lit bar, talking to a woman. She laughs at your joke and lightly touches your arm. Is it a sign of attraction? Maybe. It could just be a friendly gesture. But now, let's add the rest of the orchestra. As she touches your arm, she also maintains deep, prolonged eye contact. Her pupils are slightly dilated, a physiological response to interest that is almost impossible to fake. Her body and feet are angled directly toward you, even if there are other people around. She unconsciously mirrors your posture, leaning in when you lean in. A genuine warm smile reaches her eyes, creating little crinkles at the corners. When she speaks, you notice she nervously bites her lower lip for a fleeting moment. Now, what is the touch on the arm telling you? It's no longer an ambiguous note. It's a powerful chord in a symphony of attraction. All the instruments are playing the same song. This is what we mean by clustering. A single gesture can be misleading, but a cluster of signals all pointing in the same direction is a message you can trust. Let's break down some of the other key instruments in this symphony. The D. Gaze. The eyes are truly the windows to the soul. When a woman is interested, her eye contact will be different. It might be a sustained, intense gaze that feels like she's trying to see right into you. Or it could be the classic glance and look away. She catches your eye from across the room, holds it for a second or two, and then shyly looks down or away, often with a slight smile. When she's feeling desire, her eyes might take on a soft, almost drunk glaze, a sign that she's fully present and captivated by you. Mirroring. This is a fascinating and deeply subconscious behavior. When we feel a strong sense of rapport with someone, we instinctively start to mirror their body language. If you cross your legs, she might cross hers a few moments later. If you take a sip of your drink, she might do the same. This isn't conscious mimicry. It's her brain's way of saying, I'm on the same wavelength as you. I feel connected to you. Proximity. The space between two people is a powerful indicator of their emotional relationship. When a woman is attracted to you, she will find ways to close the physical distance. She might choose the seat next to you instead of across from you. In a group, she might consistently position herself closer to you. She is, quite literally, trying to bridge the gap between you. Preening and grooming. As mentioned before, watch for little adjustments to her appearance. Constantly smoothing her dress, adjusting her necklace, or most commonly, touching her hair. These are instinctual actions driven by a desire to look her best for someone she's trying to impress. Understanding this symphony is about becoming a better observer, a detective of human emotion. It's about looking past the words and listening to the richer, more honest conversation happening underneath. However, like any language, this one has its own nuances, dialects, and potential for misinterpretation. It's easy to get excited by a few positive signals, but a true expert understands the importance of context and the potential pitfalls. One crucial distinction to make is between friendly touch and flirtatious touch. A friendly touch is often quick, light, and in a neutral zone like the shoulder or upper arm. A flirtatious touch tends to linger a fraction of a second longer, might be softer or more of a caress, and often occurs in more personal zones. The context is everything. A hug between longtime friends at a reunion is very different from a hug at the end of a first date that lingers, where bodies are pressed close and there's a soft sigh. Furthermore, we must always consider cultural context. A gesture that is perfectly innocent in one culture can be deeply offensive in another. In Western cultures, a kiss on the cheek is a common greeting, but in many parts of Asia, it would be considered overly intimate. A thumbs-up sign, a symbol of approval in the U.S., is a vulgar insult in parts of the Middle East. Similarly, maintaining direct eye contact is a sign of honesty in North America, but in Japan it can be seen as aggressive or rude. When interacting with someone from a different background, it's vital to be mindful that their nonverbal language may operate under a completely different set of rules. Finally, and most importantly, is the principle of consent and respect for boundaries. Learning to read a woman's body language is not about finding a secret code to unlock her affection. It is about becoming more attuned and empathetic to her feelings so that you can interact with her in a way that is respectful and honors her comfort level. Her body language is a series of invitations, not a contract. If at any point she gives a signal of discomfort, pulling away, closing off her posture, avoiding eye contact, it is your responsibility to notice it, respect it, and give her space. The goal is connection, not conquest. A man who understands this is a man who truly understands the secret language of the body. In the end, this silent dialogue of touch is one of the most beautiful and profound aspects of human connection. It's a language that speaks of our deepest needs for safety, our longing for understanding, and our capacity for love. Learning to decipher it is not a trick or a technique. It is an act of empathy. It's about quieting the noise in your own head long enough to truly see and feel the person in front of you. It's about understanding that a fleeting touch on the hand can hold more truth than 1,000 words, and that the warmest, most desirable place in the world is in the presence of someone who makes our nervous system feel finally and completely safe. So pay attention. Listen with more than just your ears. The body is always speaking, and its secrets are waiting for those who are willing to learn its language.